Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaRakah the one the apostles of Great Most Honorable One, Shalom to all the brothers doing the work of sharing truth. Um, got this on NPR. Just an interesting little topic because, you go back even 5 years from now for you to catch an article because the elder brother mentioned at camp that as far as with, there was a period of time, it's like talking about Habakkuk 2, there was a period of time where you would kind of go on the news and it wouldn't be that straightforward to just kind of find an article talking about these things, because what the apostles are talking about, the the RFID, the mark, these things for the longest, and you're barely seeing situations in which it was being used. But now it's that's become it's modern it's a very current technology. It's something people invested in, like billions is being put into it, just like you have AI where billions is getting put in. BCI, which is the modern term they're kind of using, brain computer interfacing, is how they refer to it in the Esau realms, is being looked at the same way. So it says these brain implants speak to your mind even when you don't want to. And then with the title, they're obviously going for the angle of no matter what, once it's kind of wedged in there, whatever you're thinking, that's just going into it. And then this then lets you think, okay, what's Esau looking to accomplish with this? And then it's straightforward, man. Would say surgically. I'll read a bit and then get into it. Surgically implanted devices that allow paralyzed people to speak can also eavesdrop on their inner monologue. That's a conclusion of a study of BCIs in the journal Cell. The finding could lead to BCIs that allow paralyzed users to produce synthesized speech more quickly and with less effort. But the idea that a new technology can decode a person's inner voice is unsettling, says Nita Farahani, a professor of law and philosophy at Duke University and an author of the book Battle for Your Brain. The more we push this research forward, the more transparent our drip brains become, Farahani said, adding that measures to protect people's mental privacy are lagging behind technology that decodes signals in the brain. So yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of these things for privacy. It's like with if you go to the early internet, things like cookies and certain levels of security online, those things, as far as legal frameworks, that shit didn't exist. It was so new and so kind of edge that the legal means to kind of enforce those things or set rules didn't exist. And it's the same thing with these things. There's those rules haven't been settled, but then the joke as well with it is with the process of time of what do you call it? If you go to like privacy online with interactive computers, that's something that you functionally sign off to deal with most of these things. And then even with these technologies, it's like if you get one of these jammed in your brain, you're not going to a corner shop, a hole in the wall, and saying, "Yo, I need the battery changed." There's as far as for now, you got an iPhone, you need the screen change. You might go to Apple and they're telling you like, okay, it's gonna cost you 600 quid, and then you go to the hole in the wall, and then the man will tell you, okay, we'll do it for like 25. Those things aren't gonna exist, so you're functionally gonna have to, run with whatever they put, because that thing's been jammed in your brain. And then the truth of the matter is once it's jammed in your brain, you'll functionally forfeit as far as privacy or your desires of what you want to share. Because what I say, BCIs are able to decode speech using tiny electrode arrays that monitor activity in the brain's motor cortex, which controls the muscles involved in speaking. Until now, these devices have relied on signals produced when a paralyzed person is actively trying to speak or a word or sentence. We're recording the signals as they're attempting to speak and translating those neural signals into the words that they're trying to say, says Erin Kunz, a postdoctoral researcher at Stanford University's Neural Prosthetics Translational Lab. That is a fucking mouthful, man. What the fuck? Relying on signals produced when a paralyzed person attempts speech makes it easy for the person to mentally zip their lip and avoid oversharing, but also means they have to make a concerted effort to convey a word or sentence, which can be tiring and time consuming. So Kunz and a team of scientists set out to find a better way by studying the brain signals from 4 people who were already using BCIs to communicate. The team wanted to know whether they could decode brain signals that are far more subtle than those produced by attempted speech. The team wanted to decode imagined speech. During attempted speech, a paralyzed person is doing their best to physically produce understandable spoken words, even though they no longer can. In imagined or inner speech, the individual merely thinks about a word or a sentence, perhaps by imagining what it would sound like. See, and these are the things that are being researched. And that's the thing is like, is a good example is to go to what, Nate Satan, Nathaniel 7 said, like way back when, as far as when it came to the to implantable chip. He was saying, oh, it's just, I find my dog. Like, that's as far as the use of the technology is gonna go. But then, the reality of the matter is these things are always developing. As far as the scope and scale they're using, what they're able to accomplish with it now, they're always looking to develop it further. It's like a smartphone is something you can look to and be like, okay, that's an example of something where it would have seemed like when the first iPhone came out, there wasn't even an app store. The app store was something that came in with iPhone 3G. The second one was 3G, iPhone 3G. That was when they put the app store in there, which then would allow outsiders to produce their apps. Before then, you could only deal with like the base apps like Notes, YouTube, phone, video, camera. I think it had a camera. I assume it had a camera. It probably did have a camera on the first one. But these things were what do you call it? That was a baseline, and then now it's developed to where you can do a much wider variety of things. So it's simple as hell to just be like, oh, it's just a thing being the. No, of course these are things where they and the thing is what's the goal of the elite is control, power over those who receive it. Those who receive that mark, they're basically surrendering to that new system where all their thoughts, desires, actions then can be within the bounds of that mark, man. And then they can just be like, okay, well, if you're doing something we don't like, then it means to deal with you. And restricting your ability to interact with or do certain things. And then, the key one is financial as well. But they're obviously looking for what? Basically read your mind through it. Because these are the things that they want to do. Is this technology is basically a gap filler for fulfilling Esau's desires, the elite really, so they can be on a level of a god on earth, man. They want to be above and be able to, dictate, control, and have ultimate power over the whole earth, man. That's the great, that's what they lust for in their heart. It says the team found that the imagined speech produces signals in the motor cortex that are similar to but fainter than those of attempted speech. With the help from AI, they were able to translate those fainter signals into words. We were able to get up to 74% accuracy, decoding sentences from a 1,200 125,000 word library. What the hell was I gonna say? 1,020 125,000 word library. Kuhn said, decoding a person's speech made communication faster and easier for the participants. But Kuhn said the success raised an uncomfortable question. If inner speech is similar enough to attempted speech, could it unintentionally leak out when someone is using a BCI? Their research suggests that it could in certain circumstances. So yeah, that's the thing is essentially, they're finding, the depths they're going to is you're gonna, you get that, you then lose, privacy. And the thing with these devices is they're already into, like, they're built off that Internet of Things technology. They're already functioning, communicating to everything else. So then you can just see how it can be used for control. Where it's like, you think certain things, certain keywords or sentences. The same thing now, where you have people's the microphones on your devices, on your smart TV, on your Google Home, on your what the hell else is there? Your Alexa, your all these things. They listen, and then it's just like, if you say like okay Google on your phone, and then it will pop up with a Google thing. Then these, it obviously has to be listening to do that, and then when they're listening, the thing for now is like that's being used for like advertising, because there'll be like them YouTube channels, YouTube videos where someone says like, okay, I'm gonna prove to your phone's listening to you, and then I remember there was one I watched where it was like, okay, he typed on screen like, oh, I'm gonna talk about like dog food, and then he had like he had something up that had like a bunch of ads on it, and it was on his default account. It was just like general stuff. Then he spent like 30 seconds or something just mentioning dog food and a bunch of sentences, then refreshed it, and then you had dog food coming up. And that's something that's happened before, where it's like you might mention something, and then you get an advert, you get a YouTube video recommendation of these things, and then you're just like, what the hell? And then Samsung was the one I remember they said on their TVs, they would listen for these things, it would just listen, has the right to listen to you. So, these technologies, they're they're there for a reason, isn't it? It's got a role to serve. These things aren't being researched and looked into for no reason. Read this, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. And that's really what you have with Esau, man, with these technologies. He's basically trying to establish himself as the Most High. He's trying to be like, okay, well, I'm going to be the ultimate power over the earth. I'm going to have everyone, submissive, everyone engaged in his system. And then through that system, he can then function like he's the Most High. He can have, insight into people's minds, their desires. These are things, these things they've been lusting for the longest. Why is it all these different psychological studies and whatnot? Why is so much money and research poured into, how people think, what incentivizes them and whatnot? These are all things that the elite, lust towards and for. Because why? It then gives them the what do you call it? They're what it lets them, try and fulfill what part of what their job is to do, man. Once they're out here, man, attempt to be the Most High, man, and fail spectacularly. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.